Over the last 20 years, we've gotten better and better and better at sales conversations, to the point now where 1 in 4 sales conversations that we have result in a new client relationship that is someone who's really happy to talk to us, really happy to buy from us, really happy to have that whole client experience. And how have we done that? We have fine-tuned our sales conversations into 10 key modules. So every time we have a sales conversation, we're moving through these 10 modules. I would love for you to learn the 10 modules so that you can increase your sales conversions. Wouldn't it be lovely if you knew that if you met with 4 people, one of them would become a client? Well, these 10 modules are going to get you closer to that outcome. It's taken me 20 years to figure this out, and I'm going to give it all to you in this video. If we haven't met before, my name's Daniel Priestley. I've written 7 books on entrepreneurship. I've grown multiple companies from 0 to 7 figures in the first 12 months. I've grown several businesses to 8 figures of revenue. I've also headed up an entrepreneur accelerator where over 5,500 companies have come through a 12-month program in order to grow their business. So let's talk about sales conversations. I want you to imagine that you've generated a lead, someone's filled in a form, they've signaled that they're interested in working with you, and now you've got in touch with them, you've scheduled something in the diary, and you're going to have a meeting with them. These are the 10 modules that you're going to go through in that meeting in order to have a really positive sales meeting. The first thing is called framing. Framing is the way that you open the sales meeting in order to set the frame. And setting the frame is setting expectations, telling people a little bit about your background, making sure they know who you are, where you're coming from, where you get your insights from, why they should listen to you, why they should think of you as an authority in a particular area, right? So setting the frame. Now think about this. Imagine you go to a doctor and the doctor is going to do a surgery and they say, okay, nice to meet you. Count backwards from 10 to 1 and I'll see you on the other side. And you think to yourself, this is freaky, right? I'm scared. I don't know what to expect. Imagine instead, the surgeon says, I've done this many times before. I'm an expert at this. My team, we're very experienced at this. This is a routine procedure. You're going to be fine. They put your mind at ease by telling you about the experience and the qualifications. And as a result, we call that good bedside manner. They've set expectations. It puts you at ease. The opening frame is your chance to put people at ease. You might open the sales meeting by saying, can I share with you a little bit about my background? Or can I share with you a little bit about my experience that I bring to this conversation? In some way, you want to set the opening frame so that people know who you are, why they should trust you, why they should listen to you, and that we call the opening frame. I recommend having a 30-second to 90-second pre-prepared, well-rehearsed opening frame that you bring into every sales meeting. Remember, they're not mind readers. They don't know what your background is. They don't know if you've done this 1,000 times before. They don't know if you've won major awards. They don't know if you've got an incredible background working at amazing companies. All they know is that they booked an appointment, it's in the diary, they're not sure who you are or what your experience is, so don't make them guess, don't pretend that they're a mind reader. Give them the information they need to know you, respect you, like you, and trust you. The second module is rapport. So rapport is warmth and chemistry and openness, right? And the framing and the rapport, they go hand in hand. It's push-pull energy. Framing is a little bit of push energy, right? It's about having authority. It's about having a strong frame. It's about being trusted. Rapport is being close, open, warm, and establishing common ground and good chemistry. So these are the 2 opening things to get right at the beginning. Now, the way to speed this along is with data. So whenever someone books an appointment with one of my sales team, they typically have filled in the key person of influence assessment, they've filled in an online scorecard or something like that, which means that we have the data and we know a lot about them, which means it's very easy to build rapport. It's very easy specifically to tell them information that sets a powerful frame based on what we know about them. So those 2 things are made so much easier if we've got the data. If you filled in an online form, if you filled in an online scorecard, that means that it's very, very fast that I can say, we're going to talk about the scorecard results. We've identified some weaknesses and some strengths. We'll talk about all of that. We've done this many, many times. Over 90,000 people have filled in that online scorecard. I can also say something along the lines of, I also noticed that there's this, this, and this, which we can talk about to build rapport, right? So the data allows me to fast track framing and rapport if I've got access to that data. It's very hard to have a sales meeting that is just name, email, contact, no information. If you've done no research or if you've collected no data, framing and rapport becomes an art form as opposed to a science. The next section of the sale is called discovery, and discovery has 3 modules. So the first part of discovery is called the present, which is understanding what is their present situation, how did they arrive here, what's the current lay of the land, right? Discovering where are they now. And over here, we've got the opposite of that, which we call the prize. So the prize is what is it they're trying to achieve? What do they want? What's the outcome that they're looking for? If they could wave a magic wand, what would they wish would happen related to what it is that you do? So the present and the prize. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? And what sits in the middle is the reason that they're talking to you in the first place. And that is the problem. So the problem is essentially what stops them from getting the prize, right? So they're in this present situation. They wish that they could get fit or lose weight or get muscles. But the problem is that they're busy, they're distracted, they're a parent, they've got a bad relationship with food or going to the gym, they don't know what to do, right? So there's all sorts of problems, things that they've tried that haven't worked, barriers to them getting the success that they want, right? So inside people's mind, they've created a story called, here's where I am now, here's where I'd like to be, but here's why I haven't been able to get there. You need to understand all three of those things in order for you to then make the sale. Here's the mistake that a lot of salespeople make. They dwell on the present without asking questions about the problem or the prize, or perhaps they might go to the prize and they ask a lot of questions about what you're trying to achieve, but they don't ask enough about the present or the problem. You have to treat these as like three separate baskets, and all baskets need to be full. You've got to collect information about where are you now, where do you want to be, what's in the way, what is your present, what is your prize, what is your problem, and we need to capture all of that in discovery. Now, a really great thing to do is to actually have this data in advance, right? If someone has filled in that online scorecard, we actually know already a lot about the present, the prize, and the problem. We've already collected that data, which means we can just fine tune and we can ask them to confirm or maybe prioritize the present, the problem, and the prize. We've already got the data, we've already had time to think about it, so we're going into a sales meeting armed with all that great information in the first place. So if you've already got the information, that just takes the pressure right off. You can talk about it as opposed to have to get it out of them. That is just another reason why a scorecard or an online assessment works perfectly with high converting sales meetings. So part one was the opening of the sales meeting, which is the framing and the rapport. Part two is the discovery, which is the present, the problem, and the prize. Now we're going to go to part three. Part three has 3 modules, and the 3 modules are what we call insights, methods, and solutions. So once you've done discovery and you understand the person's situation, you may be tempted to jump straight to solutions. In fact, most inexperienced salespeople, they love to just go and solutionize early. So they go, oh, you want to get this prize? Let me tell you how to get the prize. Or you've got this problem, let me tell you the solution to that problem. Or here's the present situation where you're stuck, let me tell you how you get unstuck, and here's the solution. And it's this desire to jump to the solution that makes people dig their heels in and they say, I don't want the solution. It feels like you're presenting me with something too much, too fast, too soon. And that is one of the fastest ways to kill the sale. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but jumping straight to solutions too early will kill the sale. What we want to do is we want to say, is it okay if I share with you some insights about your situation that I'm picking up on? I want to share with you my methods and my best practices that I would apply to your situation, and then I'll share with you some solutions as to what we could get started on if it's appropriate. This will get a much better result. So let's break it down into the modules. So when it comes to insights, you're going to share with people what you've seen in their situation. You may summarize the emotions that they've been feeling. You might summarize the nature of their frustration. You might summarize what it is that they're trying to achieve and kind of put that into a bigger picture. So that would be the inner world, the emotional world, where you kind of summarize back to them, this is what I'm seeing in what you've told me. And the other thing too is you might tease apart the issues. You might say, it sounds like in addition to those feelings, you've got 3 big issues, and the 3 big issues is issue 1, issue 2, and issue 3. And then you'll say, does that all sound right? And they go, yeah, that sounds right. And it really lets them know that you've heard them, that you've processed it, and you've been able to feed it back in a more big chunked up fashion. In some cases, people feel like they're in a bit of a knot. They feel like there's multiple things pulling in different directions. Just simply identifying what are the different strands of the knot, what are the big issues, and being able to name them separately is very cathartic for people. They feel understood. They feel like you have taken the time to understand exactly what's going on for them. So we call this the insights. Once we've nailed the insights, we move on to the method. And this is where you tell people that you've got best practices and methods and principles that would be relevant for their situation. And you explain where those principles come from or where those methods come from. And you essentially say, having seen many people like you, having seen people who are dealing with the same issues or trying to achieve the same goals, I actually have a set of principles, a set of methods that are appropriate to this situation. And you might explain what those methods look like. And then finally, that leads naturally into presenting a solution. And the solution will essentially say, well, we're going to work on sleep, exercise, and diet. Those are the big ones that we're going to do. And I'm going to hold you accountable, and we're going to track it. We're going to measure it. We're going to use some apps. We're going to get you in the gym a certain number of times. I'm going to be your trainer. I'm going to do meal plan with you, right? So we're going to map out the solution. And we're also going to say, this is the fee for doing this, or this is the price for this package. This is what this will cost. We might say these are the payment plans. We might say these are the guarantees. All of that is covered in the solution. So we're going to outline exactly what you're going to buy and how you're going to buy it, and it's going to be in the solution. Because you did insights and methods first, the solution will seem like it's perfectly positioned. It'll seem like the right time to present a solution. And this is where you get a lot less resistance. So now that you've presented the solution, we're going to the final part of the sales presentation, which is to discuss and complete. So discussing is to discuss what's less than perfect, what was unexpected, was the price right, was the plan right, does this need any adjustment, does it need any customization, is there anything they need to understand before they can move ahead, right? So all of that's in the discussion. You're going to handle objections, you're going to clarify any key points that need clarifying. So all of that is in this discussion, discussing the solution. And then finally is complete, which is what do we need to do to move forward? So they may say, look, I can't move forward unless I run this past my partner, my spouse, right? Okay, great. Let's make a time to reconnect, right? That would be how you would perhaps complete that sale. Or they might say, I'm ready to go ahead. So we need to fill in the forms and we need to go online and do the thing and get all set up. Great. That's what you need to do to complete that sale. So discussing is fine tuning, clarifying, handling objections, and then completing is doing all the things we need to now move this ahead. So here's what we've got as a whole picture. Part one is framing and rapport. This is the opening of the sales presentation. This is where you're setting the scene. Part two is discovery, understanding their situation. Where are they now? Where do they want to be? What's in the way? Part three is presenting your value through insights, methods, and solutions. Part four is completing the sale by discussing and completing so that we're all finished up. Those are the 10 modules that a great sales meeting should include. Now, if you follow that plan, you're going to have a very sensible sales conversation. You're not going to have chit chat. You're not going to kind of waste your time talking about life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, football, weather, etc., etc. You're not going to go off track. You're not going to go off the rails. You're not going to waste your time or their time. You're going to stick to the most important thing at the most important time. You're going to have a really good sales meeting. Now, as I said, the way to make this absolutely bulletproof is collecting data up front. The more data you collect before the sales meeting, the easier this is going to flow. We recommend set up a score app, have an online assessment, get them to fill in the online assessment, 15 to 40 questions, produce the report. You've got the report, they've got the report. You've seen the data, they've seen the data. That is going to make it so much easier to frame the sales meeting, to build rapport, to really do a lot with discovery, not surface level, go deep with discovery. Then it gives you the time in advance to have prepared the right insights, the right methods, the right solutions. You know you're talking to the right person. You know you can marry your solution up to their desired outcomes. And then it gives you the data that you need to easily complete the sale as well. The more you can collect this data up front, the more your sales conversations become a science as opposed to an art form, and that is the goal. We want to have scientific sales conversations, not artistic sales conversations. We want to make sure that we're following a process, that we're hitting all the right bases, that we can deconstruct it if it goes off the rails, and we can put it back together if needed. So I hope you've enjoyed all of that, but remember, it all falls apart if you don't have a great online assessment. So I've actually created a separate video, which is a blueprint, and it is a training video to teach you exactly how to set up a really, really good assessment. It's going to go through point by point so that you do not miss anything, that you can do the best version of this once and it will work for you for years. There'll be a link in the description to go to the blueprint and set one of those up using scoreapp.com, and it'll be so easy, so fun. You'll do it once and it'll serve you for the next 12 months. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope your sales meetings go even better from here on in, and I look forward to seeing you soon. All the best.